Mr. Chairman, we have a form.
Okay. We will go ahead and call the meeting to order of the Western Virginia Regional Industrial Facilities Authority Board this morning. Virginia, would you call the roll, please?
David Little.
Here.
Ken McFadden. David Mormon. Luke Campbell.
Here.
Christopher Whitlow. Michael Burnett.
Here.
Steve Sandy. Donald Smith. Richard Kaywood.
Here.
Jill Luke. Here. Bob Cow.
I'm sitting in for Mark for Bob Cow.
Thomas Reyes. Brent Robertson.
Here.
James Telefera.
Here.
Rob Light. Cody Sexton.
Here.
Pete Peters.
Here.
Kevin Ford.
Thank you, Virginia. Richard, Mr. Haywood, would you like to take over for the participation committee?
Yep, I am doing that. I'd like to call the meeting of the Western Virginia Regional Industrial Facility Authority Participation Committee to order.
Let me add something here. We've got Jay participating remotely. He needs to give his location and his personal reason to participate remotely. I suggest that the personal reason is avoidance of COVID exposure.
Jay, could you call the roll, please?
Bob Cow. We have Mark Nielsen sitting in for Bob Cow. James Telefera.
Here, participating from Salem City Hall for reasons declared by legal counsel.
We have in person Tommy Miller sitting in as well for the city of Salem. Richard Kaywood.
Here.
Kevin Ford.
Okay, thank you. We'll go on to item 3 of the agenda, which would be the approval of the consent agenda items. That would be the minutes of September 16th, 2022, and also the financial reports. The chair would entertain a motion for approval. Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of the approval of the consent agenda, please, I guess, follow Virginia in roll call.
And I forgot to ask about the address where you're participating from,
Okay.
the ones that are participating online. When I call for the roll call for the minutes and agenda, would you please state your address as well?
Absolutely.
David Little.
Yes, and I am in Daleville in Botetourt County.
Luke Campbell.
I'm also in Daleville, Botetourt County.
Michael Burnett.
Yes, I'm at 1255 Franklin Street in Rocky Mount.
Richard Kaywood.
Yes.
Jill Luke.
Yes.
Mark Nielsen.
Yes.
Brent Robertson.
Yes, at the municipal building.
James Telefera.
Yes, from Salem City Hall.
Cody Sexton.
Yes, from Town of Benton Municipal Building.
Peters.
Yes, Town of Benton Municipal Building.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Back to Mr. Kaywood.
Okay, For the participation committee, we also need to approve our consent items. And Virginia, could you, well, I guess we need a motion to approve those. I'll make the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Hey, now Virginia, you can call the roll.
Richard K. Wood,
Yes.
James Filipero,
Yes.
Mark Nielsen,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay. Are there any public comments?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
And I assume there are also no public comments for the participation committee.
Okay. Hearing no public comments, we'll move on to item 5 on the agenda. It would be the election of officers. And I think there is a list on page 22. Is that right?
So Gary, the list on page 22 is the current list. I think there was some interest of one of those officers to step down for the coming year. The report on page 22 expresses an intent to take nominations from the floor for those positions.
I'm sorry, John, I couldn't hear everything that you said.
Yeah. So there is a list of current officers on page 22. Mr. Whitlow has expressed potential interest in stepping down as Secretary Treasurer, and so
Okay.
there's an opportunity to take nominations from the floor for any of the positions.
Okay.
But that order is vacant for this coming year.
Okay. So we'll start with chair then, if that's okay. As far as nominations for chair.
I nominate Gary LaRue.
Any other nominations? Hearing none, we'll go ahead and proceed to vote. I guess we have to do a roll call on that as well, Sam?
Yes.
Do we need to do them individually, or can we just do the slate?
Can you do a slate?
Let's do the whole slate, Gary.
Okay, let's do that. Okay. So for vice chair,
Nominate Bob Cowell.
okay. Any other nominations? Okay. For the secretary treasurer, do I hear nominations?
I nominate Richard K. Wood.
Okay. Any other nominations for that one? Okay. And for the assistant treasurer?
Nominate Jeremy Holmes.
Okay. Any other nominations for that one either? Okay. So it sounds like that the slate of officers would end up being Jeremy Holmes, assistant treasurer, Richard K. Wood would be secretary treasurer, Bob Cowell, vice chair, and Gary LaRue, chair. Any further discussion or anyone else that would like to have any of those positions, please let us know now. Hearing none, we'll go ahead and ask Virginia to call the roll.
Katie Lodo,
Yes.
Lou Campbell,
Yep.
Michael Burnett,
Yes.
Richard K. Wood,
Yes.
Jill Luke. Yes. Mark Nielsen,
Yes.
Brent Robertson,
Yes.
James Filipero,
Yes.
Cody Sexton,
Yes.
Pete Peters,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you very much, and for the privilege of serving for all of the officers, right? Thank you for that. We'll move on to the item 6 about the Woodhaven maintenance use. John?
Yeah, in the point of order, Sam, should the participation committee go first on this one?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, very good.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, perfect, so,
Okay, so I guess on page 21 of the participation committee packet, there's a schedule of dues. John, is there any presentation you'd like to make of that?
it's on that, what, page
21, I think.
21 participation committee packet, page 23 on the authority packet. These are unchanged from last year. The intention again is to fund ongoing maintenance and marketing expenses on the site.
I guess from the participation committee, do we have any discussion, and if not, a motion to approve the schedule as presented on page 21?
For a second. Virginia, can you report a second for the state of Washington? Here's what my will say. State of Washington. So, who made the motion for the state of Washington? Can we have a motion on the slate of officers, please? I'm sorry.
So moved.
Second.
Did we do it the first time?
There was no second.
I'm sorry.
No problem. It's that virtual environment.
Yeah.
So, I guess.
Actually, I think it was Jill and me the first time, and I probably did not speak loud enough.
Not on the slate, it was the other.
Yeah, okay.
So Gary, maybe we just take another vote on that. I'm sorry to interrupt this.
Okay. So there was a motion and properly seconded now for the slate of officers. So those would end up being the list that I had read before. And Virginia, would you go through the roll call?
Eli Ludo,
Yes.
Campbell,
Yes.
Michael Burnett,
Yes.
Richard Kaywood,
Yes.
Jill Luke,
Yes.
Mark Nielsen,
Yes.
Brent Robertson,
Yes.
James Rivera,
Yes.
Cody Sexton,
Yes.
Pete Peters,
Yes.
motion passes.
All right,
Okay.
so
Now it's up to Richard.
yeah, back to page 21 and the participation committee packet. I will make the motion that we adopt the schedule of dues as presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, Virginia, can you call the roll, please?
Mark Nielsen,
Yes.
James Rivera,
Yes.
Richard Kaywood,
Yes.
Tommy Miller,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, so John, on item 6 on the agenda would be the 24 Woodhaven maintenance dues approval. So we would have to approve what the participation committee actually brought forward. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so is there a motion from the participation committee for the adoption of that due schedule?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's been made and properly seconded. We'll go ahead. Any further discussion? Hear none, we'll proceed to vote. Virginia, would you call the roll, please?
Eli Ludo,
Yes.
Luke Campbell,
Yes.
Michael Burnett,
Yes.
Richard Kaywood,
Yes.
Jill Luke,
Yes.
Mark Nielsen,
Yes.
Brent Robertson,
Yes.
James Rivera,
Yes.
Cody Sexton,
Yes.
Pete Peters,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, thank you very much, Virginia. Now we'll move on to item 7 would be the operating dues, which is on page 24 of the main packet. And it has those listed there. And is there a motion to approve those operating dues as presented in the packet?
So moved.
Motion's been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's a second. Any discussion? Okay, we will go ahead and proceed to vote. Virginia, sorry to call on you one more time.
Gary Little,
Yes.
Bill Campbell,
Yes.
Michael Burnett,
Yes.
Victor Kaywood,
Yes.
Jill Luke,
Yes.
Mark Nielsen,
Yes.
Brent Robertson,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Cody Sexton,
Yes.
E. Peters,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you very much. Now back to John for the Business Ready Sites Program update. I think that's on both participation and on the main agenda.
That's correct. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Richard. So the Woodhaven Technology Park did have an application go forward for the Business Ready Sites program this year. We had a very successful virtual presentation of the site. We had each of our local governments in attendance there to participate as well, show support. I have received notification that the application has proceeded to the next round. A summary of the application is in the agenda packet in the minutes. I think that's page 9 of your minute package. But it's $1.5 million for stormwater facility and drainage improvements, $2 million of additional grading, and $2.2 million for acquisition. The application has proceeded to the next round. There is a visit scheduled from the BEDP and KPMG consulting team. I believe that's December 6th. That is actually December 6th at 3:30 p.m. And I'll be working with our local partners on those logistics. So we're encouraged. 3 other applications did go forward from the larger region. I believe each of those is moved ahead as well. So that's my report.
Thank you very much, John. Any questions? Sounds very promising. Okay,
Sorry,
we'll move on to the project updates.
Yep. So other than the Business Ready Sites program, there is the buffering plantings, which are underway now, about $75,500 of the buffer plantings, which was paid for by the previous round of Business Ready Sites program funding, all except $500, if I'm not mistaken, for that expense. It's going to be covered by the state. Those plantings should be completed by the end of the year, and our grant timeframe also terminates end of this calendar year. So they're on schedule, and everything is proceeding. In fact, this project's underway currently. Matt drove by and looked at it this morning. It's all looking very good. Matt, can you think of any other updates, projects with it? I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, John. I think at this point, if I'm correct, that Mr. Kaywood, you have a closed session on participation, and the full authority would be adjourned. Is that correct?
Yes. So I would make a motion to adjourn the full committee.
Okay, and is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. With the Virginia calling the roll, I would wish everyone happy Thanksgiving. So Virginia?
Gary Little,
Yes.
Lou Campbell,
Yes.
Michael Burnett,
Yes.
Richard Kaywood,
Yes.
Jill Luke,
Yes.
Mark Nielsen,
Yes.
Brent Robinson,
Yes.
Mr. Rivera,
Yes.
Miss Exton,
Yes.
Pete Peters,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you. The full authority is adjourned. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, Gary. Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay, now for the participation committee, and we'll vote on this, and then we'll take a moment to make sure we have the right people connected or disconnected. I move the participation committee of the Western Virginia Regional Industrial Facility Authority go into closed meeting for discussion or consideration of disposition of publicly held real property where discussion in open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the authority pursuant to section 2.2-3711.8.3 of the Code of Virginia. Do we have a second?
Second.
Jenny, can you call the roll of the participation committee to go into closed?
Mark Nielsen,
Yes.
James Rivera,
Yes.
Tommy Miller,
Yes.
Richard Kaywood,
Yes.
we have a four. We have motion passes.
Okay, so we are now in closed. I don't know what's going on
So we'll pause the recording, correct?
Yeah. Okay, I would like to make a motion that the matters that we discussed in closed session were only those that were legally exempted matters under the Code of Virginia, and no other items were taken up in the closed meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Do a roll call, please.
Mark Nielsen,
Yes.
Tommy Miller,
Yes.
Richard Kaywood,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, and then upon doing that, are there any other items to discuss in the participation committee? If not, I would move to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. We can now stop the recording. Our meeting is over.
Right, thank you.